Afghanistan, Tibet, Iraq, Cambodia, Yugoslavia are the great disaster areas, archaeologically speaking, of our age.
Did you say it was the Minari Jam?
This is the Minari Jam.
Like Jamshid?
That's Jamshid.
Oh, okay.
Minari Jam.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Over how long was this period of travel? Meaning, you'd be sort of we're seeing successive valleys, but I have no sense of how far apart they are from one another.
How long it took
you
us?
to go from one place
Oh,
to
okay. It took us on horseback 8 days.
to get from.
The northern site where you saw that wonderful building, which we followed the nomad routes, and we were able to ascertain that that first archaeological site we saw was the winter capital, and this is the summer capital, because the nomads actually spend their summer very close to this, and their winter right next to the other building. So it's the same pattern.
Do the nomads still make this trip even though the area is considered dangerous? Are there still
Well, they're part of why it's dangerous. So they were tremendously targeted by the Soviets. Sad as it may be, the Soviets in many ways replicated Sherman's tactic against the Sioux and the Cheyenne. The U.S. cavalry tactic was kill the buffalo, kill the ponies. When the Indians no longer have buffalo to eat and ponies to move, they will submit. Soviet tactic was kill the camels, kill the horses, kill the sheep, kill the donkeys, kill the livestock, and these people will have to submit. So as a result, yes, of course, many more animals were killed than human beings. They were easier to target. And when you would be traveling over the mountains, trying to avoid the Soviet helicopter patrols, sometimes you just waded through carcasses, just piles and piles of rotting animals, especially the larger ones. The Soviet helicopters was just a camel, kill it. A horse, kill it. A donkey, kill it. Sorry.
So the Soviet roundup of nomads, I know you're getting into this later, was that in any way related to the ring road policy as well? Or those two
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the nomads always crossed, a number of them crossed the ring road.
Right.
Those in the south, you actually had nomads who moved back and forth between Pakistani lowlands and Afghan highlands.
So that's how they cleared people out of the ring road area. Probably.
Well,
they killed a bunch of
they targeted nomads tremendously. In the past, the nomads, the Pashto nomads, as you know, in your region, were also merchants. Since they moved from one part of the country to another, they also used their camels to carry merchandise, like tea, sugar, matches, things like that. Okay, shall we take the next one? Yes, I just wanted to show you the Qutb Minar, or the Great Minaret of the Sultanate of Delhi, which is recognized as one of the wonders of early 13th century Islamic architecture. In the earlier picture, you can reverse it. It was built by the same dynasty. But if this minaret is not saved, then you'll just have to go to Delhi and get the Indian version of it. Okay, next. Okay, we're following the riverbed now, and we've reached the Hari Rud River, which is going to take us to Herat through the highlands. We're very high, but you can see that the cliffs are less abrupt, and we can move more freely, more easily. Next. This is a market town of Chakcharan. This was a place that could be reached by truck and by little aircraft, and this is where the Afghan government had the most important presence anywhere in the Western Highlands. But you could, of course, still very, very traditional, but you could see that trucks now could reach it. We were sort of coming out of the hills on horseback, and here we could join up with the truck route. Next. The traditional castle by the prefecture of Chakcharan. Next. All about architecture. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I refer to irrigated agriculture. This is known as abi, water agriculture. Bullocks, traditional plows, mulberry trees, and good farmland irrigated by a permanent supply of water This is the most expensive land. Next. This, on the contrary, is dry farming. Lalmi or Baroni in the Indian lowlands. This is the kind of farming. You can see you've got this land which just extends. If you've had snow, then you will actually have greenery growing in the summertime, and you can actually plow and harvest. But it depends on the snowfall. And if you don't have enough snow, then you get nothing out of this territory. So it's very extensive, but the nomads have the right idea. Do not depend exclusively on agriculture. You can use this type of land to graze extensively, which is why you have nomadism. Next. Now this remarkable series of wells represents one of the ways that traditional Iran and Afghanistan would tap water from a high source, high in the hills, and get the flow of water down to the permanently irrigated fields. But you have to make sure that the water flows through a tunnel, because otherwise, in summertime, most of it will evaporate. But to ensure that the water flows through this tunnel, you've got shallow water pretty much up to your knees, you sink well shafts all along. So you can have access to the water, and you can also go down in there and wade up to your knees and constantly keep this tunnel in shape, keep it from collapsing, constantly clean it, constantly consolidate it. So this is known as a qariz in Afghanistan. It's a technique which the Arabs took from the Central Asians and Persians, and they even brought it to Spain. And this will give you an idea. In Arabic, classical Arabic, this type of thing is known as a majra, meaning a water flow. And an area where you had many of these was known in Spanish Arabic as majrit. Guess what that became? Madrid. It's the origin of the name Madrid. Next.
How high up are you in that last photo?
There's your answer. Oh, we're in a helicopter.
Okay.
Yes. So that's a typical worker, farmer, cleaning, maintaining one of these underground irrigation channels. This type of thing is where I carried out one of the main investigations of a Soviet war crime in 1982. If you just take the picture just coming before it, many people use these underground irrigation channels as bomb shelters. And in one particular incident that had been reported to me in Pakistan from people from Logar province, south of Kabul, coming in, was that 100 or so farmers, including and children, villagers, including children, had been hiding in one of these channels when the village had been occupied by Soviet troops. And these Soviet troops, people wearing masks and uniforms of some kind they were trying to describe, I found out that it was asbestos uniforms, poured gasoline down the shafts to burn everybody alive, forcing the other villagers to watch under gun guard while the people inside screamed and burned alive. So I went and with two international investigators, and we investigated it. We scraped our findings from the soup from the channel walls. We questioned hundreds of witnesses. We brought together all the proof, and we testified at the Bertrand Russell Tribunal in Paris in late 1982 on this particular Soviet war crime, which had just taken place 104 kilometers south of Kabul, Podkhorn-e-Shana. And so I was invited to testify with the witnesses before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in Washington, D.C. in December of 1982, and President Reagan then invited us for a private chat at the White House on the 2nd of January